card from Ms. Hughey, and we will call on you in the order that we receive them during agenda item number 3. Public comments are an opportunity for the community to address the board, although there is no dialogue. All study sessions, special meetings, and business meetings of the school board are conducted in public and always offer an opportunity for the public to come before the board. Our agenda and accompanying information are posted on our district website on the Saturday prior to our Monday meetings. You can find it by clicking on About Us, clicking on Board of Education, and clicking on Agendas. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes each. Our monthly Board of Education business meetings are available to watch live on CCTV Channel 19, WBTV, or Channel 99 on AT&T U-verse. We adhere to our board norms, including our social contract, which is that we, 1, listen to understand, 2, be respectful, 3, model our District 4 Cs, which are communicator, collaborator, critical thinker, and contributor. 4, practice confidentiality. 5, focus on the whole district. 6, no surprises. And 7, we govern, not manage. We steer, not row. Agenda item 2 this evening is our selection of second-round superintendent candidates. Our search consultant, Mr. John Silveri from Michigan Leadership Institute, will facilitate this agenda item. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll just briefly, we talked about this last night, so I'll briefly review what we're about to do. We've interviewed 3 candidates for the superintendency. Ideally, at this point, we'll get that down to 2, right? So I know you left here yesterday with a lot of information and a lot to think about. And so I know you're prepared today to speak to which 2 of the 3 candidates you interviewed you would have interest in learning more about and remaining a consideration to be your next superintendent. So we would ask that we go down the line, and I'll leave it up to President Brickman to determine what order. I don't know if you want to make it roll call order or whatever you choose to do, but we would just ask each member of the board individually to speak to which of the 2 candidates you'd like to advance. To whatever extent you would like to, you can speak to why. That's up to you. And once all 6 of you have weighed in, I'll just kind of repeat back to you. Here's how many of you express support for this candidate, for any of the 3.
Okay. Mrs. Forehand, do you mind if I start with you? Okay.
I would like to learn more from Dr. Ryan McLeod and Dr. Danya Bazzi.
Well, we had 3 very highly qualified candidates, but the 2 that I would like to learn more about is Dr. Danya Bazzi and Dr. Ryan McLeod.
Yes, I like to concur that I agree that we had fantastic candidates, and we are more than grateful for their time and insights. And I would like to learn more from Dr. McLeod and Dr. Bazzi.
And just to echo your statements, just the fact that we had such wonderful quality candidates who applied to be a part of our fantastic community is just exceptional to me. And I appreciate all of their taking their time and putting themselves out there for us and to be a part of our family here. But with that said, even though all of them are exceptional, it came down to who I felt would be a better fit for us here in West Bloomfield. And I've chosen to move forward with Dr. Bazzi and Dr. McLeod.
Mrs. Evans.
I do want to thank all candidates for their participation in our process. So thank you so much for your time and your effort. At this time, I would like to move forward with Dr. Bazzi and Dr. McLeod.
Thank you for that. And I would also like to acknowledge that all 3 are phenomenal leaders for their school districts. I would like to learn more from Dr. McLeod and Dr. Bazzi.
Okay. I don't think I probably need to say too much at this point, do I? I think it's pretty evident what type of motion somebody should go ahead and make at this point.
So would you like to make the motion?
Okay. I move to extend second
Sec-
round invitations to interview with Dr. McLeod and Dr. Bazey.
Do I have a second? Mrs. Finkelstein? Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion passes 7-0, or 6-0, sorry, Dr. Hirsch is not here. Yes. Do you want anything for next step?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. So the very next thing, we had reserved, just in case we needed them, 3 nights, 3 days and nights for second round, March 8th, 9th, and 11th. So I don't want to assume anything. I would guess that you may want to roll with March 8th and 9th.
That's correct.
Drop Friday, March 11th?
That's correct.
Okay. So we have, your district has been very proactive, and schedules are set for those days. Your part of this, you're going to be interviewing each of the candidates on the 8th and the 9th, starting at 7 o'clock. We'll get into that momentarily. I'll back up a little bit. It'll be a relatively short evening for you with just the one candidate. Long day for the candidates, which is fine. They're used to long days as superintendent. So they're going to begin at 12:40. Those meetings will take place here, but they'll be going through various groups of stakeholders. I believe you have seen this schedule already, so I won't run through that, but they'll start at 12:40. They should be wrapping up at about 5:35, 5:45. And it's just an opportunity for those various groups to be able to ask whatever questions they may like of the candidates. I will be there for all of these meetings too. I open the meetings up, just explain what it is that we're doing and why. As you may recall, we typically invite board members not to be present because your presence can be intimidating, even if you're not intimidating people as individuals. You're members of the board, so it can have that effect. So when I open these meetings, I make sure they know that you certainly would be interested. You've been asked not to be present so that they understand that. But as they're walking in, I'm handing them feedback forms, ones we use here, and telling them that because you're not present, that the only way that these meetings inform the process and contribute is if they do provide their written feedback, right? Otherwise, they may enjoy it, but it really doesn't do you any good unless you hear from them. So I advise that they may even want to start to kind of write some feedback down during the course of the question and answer session. So quite often, as we get to the end, people are ready to stand up and hand me those forms. I collect them. I reassure them that the candidate does not see these forms. The only people who do see them are the 7 members of the board. You'll each get a copy of each of those. And I think because of the timing of this, because there's a break in between, when I first am able to catch up with Sin, I'll hand those off to her. She'll have a chance to copy them and place them in your hands that night. So you'll have the opportunity to walk out with those and to be able to consider those. So lots more feedback coming from your stakeholders.
Thank you for that.
Any questions about that portion of this? Okay, so 7 o'clock. As we discussed, we would dedicate 80 minutes, up to 80 minutes for this second interview. Approximately, the way I would guide the candidates is to tell them that they would have approximately 20 minutes for a presentation and then approximately 60 minutes to answer additional questions from the board. I don't time those things individually. I set my timer for 80 minutes, and what I tell the candidates is if your presentation takes longer than 20, you're going to leave yourself less time to answer questions. If your presentation takes less time than 20, you're going to leave yourself more time to answer questions. So proceed accordingly, right? The 20 and 60 is more of a ballpark for them. But it cannot exceed 80. That's going to be a hard stop. And much like before, I'll be reminding President Brickman if time might be getting a little bit short. So we need to determine not only the topic of the presentation, but the interview questions. So first things first, and this I think we need to do while we're all present together, identify the topic of that presentation, which when I contact I'll be contacting all 3 of the candidates, by the way, immediately after this meeting, even before I leave. I'll get the 2 finalists scheduled, and I'll share the presentation topic with them as well. So we had had some dialogue already about that. You had indicated to give a couple of examples that we discussed, but you're certainly not limited to these. Do you want to do something in regard to portrait of a graduate, right, to give those candidates a chance to research that and do some type of presentation on that, on your 4 Cs? It could be something very specific to West Bloomfield like that, but honestly, it could be on anything. But it's an opportunity to hear the candidates speak to a particular topic in far more depth than they're able to when they're responding to interview questions. So part of it is about the content. Part of it is about their presentation style. We would ask them to create a PowerPoint or some type of visual presentation to accompany their presentation. I typically will tell them, too, to be thinking that there's going to be audience members present, too, so maybe think about presenting to everyone. And what you might even want to consider doing is simply kind of joining audience members and having the candidate present just to everybody at once. I kind of favor that. I think that's a nice touch.
So let's hear some ideas on topics. Mr. Ferguson?
I like the portrait of a graduate idea, but I would like to see a spin on it as to how have they incorporated the tenets of portrait of graduate within their own district and their experience as superintendent. So while it might not be the same, I'm sure that there are portions of our portrait of graduate that they have addressed within their own job.
Are you
And they're-
saying like the competencies, the competencies that we've identified in the portrait? Or?
Yes, and just as a, all-inclusive, I guess, how would they describe, if they had a portrait of a graduate?
Okay, anybody else? Carol?
I guess I would like more as to how our portrait of a graduate will inform and guide their work moving forward, past those first 90 days. Because we've done all this work and we don't want to abandon it, and how will you pick up that torch and keep going with it?
It's Christy.
To Ken's, excuse me, to Ken's point, if you focus on the 4 Cs and give them the flexibility of using examples from their own experience, it's one thing to project how you might want to see, things implemented in the district, but if we only limit them to how it would be done in our district, that doesn't give them the chance to talk about their own experience and successes. So I don't know if it's sort of a blended, talk about our portrait. If you want to keep the scope, they only have 20 minutes, so keep the scope specifically the 4 Cs, but give them the flexibility of adding experiences from their own background. I'm just kind of a blend.
Mrs. Evans?
I would like to see the portrait of the graduate as well, but I would like to see it as it relates to West Bloomfield. I think that each candidate will certainly include their own personal experiences and draw from their experiences, so certainly looking for that. But to talk about what the future looks like for West Bloomfield in that portrait of a graduate, also incorporating the 4 Cs as well. So portrait of a graduate as well as the 4 Cs. I would like to see that topic.
That's all tied together, so that would be covered.
I think the blend of, and I think it would be a natural, if we talk about
think
how
it
we
would be natural, too.
implement it into our school district, then that would naturally, and then use examples from when you have applied that to your own in the past, I think would be the question. Maybe
And just
succinct in that, but
And just to add to President Brickman, if they could use some of the data that they're able to find on our school district to show their research and their ability to research and their wanting to research our school district as they move forward with the presentation. So some of the data as it relates to us.
John, do you have enough there?
Well, I mean,
Would you like it more narrowed down?
I've got plenty that I can kind of run with, but I don't want to run with anything. I want to make sure that the 6 of you are in full agreement and that we're very clear on what it is that I'll be asking the candidates to present on. So, because I've heard a few different
I think
ideas.
I don't, they only have 15, 20 minutes, so I don't want it to be a watered down anything. I would rather it be, I think what I'm hearing is a focus on the intention of those competencies within our K-12 education, and to also reflect on how they've instilled some of those competencies currently, as well as moving forward and to bring forward. Did I nail it or no?
Yeah, I think using their past experience.
It'll
is
bridge.
as-
Examples from your past.
Examples
how
from your
we
past
to apply
experience,
moving
right,
forward.
as to how you might use those in the future.
All right, so you would like them to share how it is that they have utilized these in their work as superintendents, and how they envision implementing them further moving forward.
I think if you just make it real philosophical, and just say, collaboration and communication and critical thinking, contributor, it could be like, they could all give the same presentation. And I don't think that's going to help us differentiate. So I think that's why giving them the opportunity, giving them the permission to use specific examples from their own experience, makes it a personalized reflection on how they've seen those competencies applied or how they've been instrumental in applying them. And then from that, they can project. I mean,
Maybe what that
they don't
looks like.
know us yet, so I think they're limited in what they can.
And maybe their view of what that looks like. When I walk into a classroom and I'm looking for the 4 Cs, what does that look like?
Right.
For me, it's
Good
like,
frame.
you can tell me what you're going to do all day, but show me what you've done previously that aligns with our ideals.
Stacey, I think what you said is a really good frame, though, too. Like,
Because we only have
You
20 minutes, you guys, we know,
Consensus.
right? You have to, if you make it too broad, we're not going to get anything that we want. So I would say our portrait of our graduate, the 4 Cs, what they envision that could look like in our classrooms to ensure that our students are gaining those competencies.
And
Yeah.
please use personal examples or examples within your professional life as you use that to substantiate.
How's that, John?
I think I've got it.
we'll stop talking.
No, that's okay.
Sometimes we have to stop. At least it's being recorded, so you can.
Okay, I do think,
Call me later if you want to talk through it. I know I think I know exactly where they're coming from, like, it's just kind of hard to be on the spot. Nail it down, so if you have any,
So what I'll do tonight is give them a general idea of what we're looking for, and I'll take a whack at getting something in writing, a kind of a written prompt,
okay,
and I can certainly share it with you first, and then go ahead and forward it to the candidates.
that's perfect.
Okay. But I certainly can give them an idea tonight, so they can begin thinking about that.
So to our community, we do all of our discussions at the board table, so this is when it looks a little clunky, it's because it's a natural progression of our conversation at the board table, so.
Absolutely. Okay, so the second part of that is to determine interview questions. And I talked to President Brickman briefly about this. Here's what I want to suggest to you. It's not something this is not the way I have always done this, but I like for this to evolve based on experience and continue to improve, and I've used this approach the last couple times I've done searches, and it seems to work well. But to give each of you the opportunity, we're going to ask 14 to 16 questions in the second round. It won't be as many. Remember, in the first round, we said 21 to 24, 90 minutes. Now we're talking about 14 to 16, 60 minutes. So on average, with the 7 board members, you're each going to ask 2 questions. So I'd like to ask each of you to submit 3 to 4 questions that you would like to see us ask these candidates in the second round. You can get the questions you can use the binders that I gave you. Under tab 4, there are, in the initial interview questions, there are some there that we didn't use that perhaps might be the basis of a question. As you did before, you could certainly modify them or just use them as a thought starter. There are some examples of second round questions there too that again are intended to serve only as examples that you can use, but you're not limited to those. This is the opportunity to make it more about West Bloomfield, right? So But if each of you would then individually say, here are 3 to 4 questions I would like to submit for consideration, my job would be to pick 2 of them at least, possibly up to 3. I'd ask you to give me the latitude to do a little bit of wordsmithing if need be, which maybe takes the pressure off you too, not to have it be perfect, but if you give me at least kind of the spirit of it, the essence of it, I can work with it from there. Or if you'd like to send me kind of a polished version and ready to roll, I certainly would not complain about that. That would be great. And then what would happen is we would come back, when we come back next week, I'll give you, just in case you don't have enough binders, yet one more binder with the questions for the 2 candidates for the second round. And what I would do is take from the 3 to 4 questions you submit to me, and those that you would be asking will be there with your name next to them. Normally in this round, we do a round robin rather than each of you taking a chunk of questions. So you would ask a question when it comes to you, and it would come back around to you again for a second, possibly a third. We would want to make sure that that doesn't exceed 16, if at all possible. So,
Mr. Silveri, do you want us to follow the normal protocol where they send it to me and I group them and send them to you, or did you want board members to send them directly to you?
I'm comfortable in this case, honestly, if you're all comfortable with it, for you to send them directly to me,
Fine with that.
and I can begin to put them together. I think that would be fine.
Works for me.
So one other important thing to note on this too, what we permit in the second round, whereas in the first round, we ask every candidate the exact same question in the exact same order, et cetera. We keep it identical. In the second round, we want to, for the most part, keep it that way, but we would give the latitude to ask 1 to 3, no more than 3, specific questions for each candidate. So something specific to Dr. McLeod, something specific to Dr. Bazzi. The one rule of thumb is, though, if you ask Dr. McLeod a question specific to him, you got to have 1 for Dr. Bazzi, and all the rest will be the same. If you have 2 for Dr. McLeod, you're going to have 2 for Dr. Bazzi, all the rest will be the same, right? So if in the questions you submit, you might have a question for each of the candidates that you want to submit as well, you can do that. But if I get too many, I'll just know that I would limit them. I wouldn't exceed 3.
And and many of us might have the same topics, right? But you're going to,
Possible.
so you're going to make it a well-rounded interview.
That's my goal,
So-
is to make it well-rounded, and there could be some overlap, right? Right, you're exactly right. And so obviously, that's why I ask you to submit more than 2. If you gave me only 2, it might be that there could be some redundancies, and I might struggle to make sure you get at least 2 of the questions you submit, or both. So if you're able to, I would suggest you go as high as 4. Then even if there is some overlap, I'm almost certain to be able to pull 2 from that. You'll be able to ask 2 of the questions that you would like to.
Perfect. Any board members have any questions on that process?
I do.
Yes.
In regard to the questions, then, should we, as writing our 4 questions, I think you alluded to it, stay with the leadership attributes and within the certain topics, finances and so forth? So whatever our passion or we feel, we can ask those questions.
Yes, and what I would try to do as best I could, I'm not going to promise it's going to be a complete balance, because it just may be, given the nature of the questions you submit, they may be skewed more towards curriculum and instruction, for example. It could be, right? But part of what I would be looking for is to have as much balance as possible, given what you're presenting me to work with. But you don't have to be concerned about the category in this case.
Wonderful. And a second question would be, and these questions are intended to go, take a deeper dive for the candidates. So we're, again, developing them to understand even further than the first round.
Well, I think of it that, yes, the short answer is yes, but the longer answer is you've learned some things about these 2 candidates now, right? But there's more to learn. So part of it is, what am I still wondering about these candidates? Where are some gaps that still need to be filled in so I can get a complete picture of each of them and understand which would be the best fit for our district? Part of that could come, for example, even from the candidate profile. If you look through that and think to yourself, what's missing? What haven't we heard about yet? What are we still wondering about relative to the profile? What's unanswered, in regard to the profile? that might help inform what types of questions you want to submit as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure.
And I'll just remind board members also the feedback forms that we received from
Yes.
the evening from our interviews, that might also prompt some questions that came up in those feedback forms. So I would also like to thank the public that was able to attend for providing that feedback, because it was invaluable and very insightful. So I appreciate that. We all appreciate that.
That's a great point. There's even one of the prompts on the feedback form is, are there any questions you may still have about this candidate? So you may have something there that could be a great question to ask.
Okay. Anything else that we need?
Well, the only thing with that would be the timing of it, right? So we're going to be coming back together on Tuesday and Wednesday, correct? So
By Friday morning?
I would even say, if you could get these to me by the end of the day on Friday, I can work with that.
Gave a whole extra couple hours, right? All right, so
You can get.
by 5 o'clock or dinner time, Friday. If you could submit those questions, that would, so that John has the time to work through those.
And what I will do is I'll put them together, and what I would like to do before I copy them and bind them and get them ready for you is put them all together and then shoot that back out to you so you have a chance to take a look. And if you have any, in case I have taken your question and I think I've done some nice wordsmithing, but I've totally destroyed the meaning of the question for you, it gives you a chance to respond before I go ahead, and I've already made the copies and have them ready to go. So I will do that for you as well.
Okay, we're going to sit in the same order, but instead of Ms. Beatty, it's going to be Dr. Hirsch. So if you're planning those questions.
Write this down, because that's
I know how you're detailed, like, I
I
appreciate your detail.
you understand me well, don't you? I do like to do it that way, so there is kind of a flow to this. Okay. All right, got it. Any questions about that, then? You know what to expect coming in next week? Okay?
Just so the board knows, I plan to have, a little snack basket in the conference room in the administrative office for their day, their little breaks. And we'll bring in dinner for both John and our candidate, so that will be arranged as well. And then we'll be back here ready to go by 7. So.
Which I appreciate. That's part of the evolution of this, too, is I used to offer to take the candidate out somewhere local, but I could tell that they were not enjoying it because they felt stressed, that they wanted to hurry up and get their stuff and get back. So I see the stress level doing it this way has come way down. So I appreciate the district providing some sustenance, and
Yeah.
we'll give the candidate a chance to relax. And, I'm there if it helps the candidate to have a chance to chat. I'm happy to be there during the break and have a conversation. But I always offer, too, to make myself scarce and give the person plenty of time just to be alone with his or her thoughts and kind of mentally prepare for what's next.
I do have a question. John, and this is just for my information.
Sure.
In those chats, are you offering suggestions or opinions or recommendations on how to improve, or just talking about the day in general? What is your role in the chat during dinner?
If candidates ask, this applies even to candidates who are eliminated, even candidates who applied but were not selected, for example, if they look for feedback on their applications, I'll give it to them. For those that interview and don't proceed, if they ask for feedback, I will give it. I don't offer it, but if asked, I tell them, don't ask unless you want the truth. I'm certainly not harsh about it, but I try to give constructive feedback to be helpful to them. But even the candidates here, if they ask, what I'm careful not to do is, if we've had conversations, I don't see that as being fair game, right? I wouldn't go there. So it's my own personal observations or thoughts that if they ask, I'm happy to share those with them. But my job is not to kind of coach them up and get them ready in that way. I communicate quite a bit with them to tell them exactly what to expect and how this is going to work, because I want them to be relaxed and be themselves and have you be able to see that. But that really is the extent of it. Other than that, I'm not really seeking to coach them and get them prepared in that way. It's more to inform them.
you.
Sure.
Okay. So, Kendra Montante, our community relations, will also be here, making sure that the day runs smoothly with you. So you have a team.
It's fantastic. So I'll just, real briefly, if I may, I'll touch on the fact that you had identified then 3 dates for site visits, which again, we're not going to need 3.
Take off the Fridays.
Okay, so it would be the 15th and the 17th of March. And you've already identified your subcommittee, and it's going to be a matter of, here's all I would need from those 3 members of the board. Doesn't have to be now, but to tell me on the 15th and the 17th, give me a time frame. I normally tell the candidates this shouldn't be any more than 3.5 to 4 hours at most. So if you were to say on the 15th, thinking of normal business hours, roughly like 9 to 4, right? Within that time frame, what's the 4-hour block of time that's going to work for you on each of those dates? And that's then what I give to the candidates to prepare for.
So I think the committee, which is Christy, Carol, and myself, left the day open. So I believe we're flexible.
Yeah. Do you have a preference? If you tell me, I'll just let the candidates know, here's what works best for the members of the board. You have a bit of a drive involved too, so I don't know if you want to think about avoiding
Want to start at 10?
I was just gonna say, maybe like a 10 o'clock.
avoid rush hour.
Avoid the rush hour thing.
It's like a 10 to 2.
So-
Gives them time to get their, themselves situated too and do whatever they may have to do in the morning.
Sure.
But it also puts us there through lunch. Does that get problematic?
That's what usually when you get
Or is
students.
that a benefit?
No, it quite often will go through the lunch period. Trust me, at that point, they're going to make this work. I'll just put it that way, right? There's a lot invested in it, and failure's not an option, so they're going to make it work.
You're giving us the route already? So I would say anywhere between 10 and 11 we could.
Started early.
Is that good?
That's fine, yeah, just narrow it down 10 or 11.
We'll start anywhere between 10 and 11.
Okay. All right, very good.
That might help with the whole structure.
And then, as we talked about, these 3 members of the board would, at the end of that, then create a joint written summary for the other 4 members of the board. It's not a recommendation, and it actually needs to be as objective as possible. Here is what we saw and heard on each of these site visits, right? So that everybody benefits from it.
It's just a report.
That's right. And then the only thing that's, well, not the only thing that's left, but the big thing that's left after that in terms of your decision is you're scheduled to come back together on March 24th to make your selection, and we're consistent. We're going to follow the same process individually. Each one of you will have the chance to say, here's who I would like to select as our next superintendent. To whatever extent you would like to, you can speak to your why, and there should be very evident consensus. And you will have successfully identified your next superintendent.
A quick question. Just for, again, the education of the public and the community, why are they going out to the visit? And what, we know and understand the purpose, and there'll be a report, but what will they do when they reach the district of the potential candidate?
I asked the candidates to arrange for, set up a schedule for the board members who participate, where these board members will have the opportunity to interact with various groups of stakeholders. It's somewhat similar to when we bring stakeholders here together for question and answer, but in this case, it's in the home district of the finalists. So what I do is give them some written advice, when again, just advise them how to structure this. So I tell them within this time frame, what you should be looking for is, do you have the opportunity to meet with a fairly wide variety of stakeholders? So you get a pretty good cross-section, and it can create a decent picture of what the folks who these candidates work with and for actually, kind of think of the experience. So the board members can ask any questions they would like to. Again, that's a great opportunity, if even at that point, there are still things that you all may be wondering about. Those who are not participating can certainly say, submit suggestions for questions, right? I'll provide some sample questions that you could choose from too, but you don't really have to use any of those. But so you can get to some things that you're wondering about, but where people in concept tend to want to shoot it down is they say if the candidates are choosing the people the board members are going to talk to, of course they're going to pick people who will say nice things about them. What's the point, right? Why would we even bother to do this? I can tell you from experience, and I have deliberately, repeatedly asked boards afterward, tell me about the experience, did you find it beneficial? And the answer has always been yes. Because partly what I tell them is there's a lot of different ways. It's not even about what people say, that's partially it. But so often it's even more about how they say it, right? It's how enthusiastically do they say it. You look at their body language, you look at their facial expression. If you ask a question about how collaborative somebody is, I'll make something up, right? And you immediately hear enthusiastic responses with examples, and other people in this small group are ready to dive in and give their examples too, and versus one person gives an answer to the question, right, and tries to give an example, but the enthusiasm is not there. Others in the room are not chomping at the bit to jump in themselves. Maybe they're even nervously looking down and doodling or whatever they may be doing because they don't want to make eye contact, right, because they don't want to say anything unkind. So I've had board members who participated say, my goodness, when we went to the one district, they certainly had nice things to say, but in the other district, you could just feel it, right? You could feel and hear the emotion, and you could even see tears, and you know, it was so heartfelt that it made a difference time and time again. Not every single time, I don't want to exaggerate, but numerous times I've had boards say that was the difference maker for them. Even in a couple of cases where they told me afterward, many of us were leaning one way before the site visit, and after the site visit, we flipped the other way. So there are times it ends up being a wash. It may be equally passionate, enthusiastic, and positive in both places, and then maybe it doesn't help too much other than to reinforce that you've got really two great choices to make, even though that may make your decision more difficult. At least it reinforces that you probably can't go too far wrong either.
So for board members who will not attend the site visit, President Brickman, can we then submit questions?
Oh, of course.
Very good.
Of course.
All right.
I would advise that you do, actually.
Of course.
I
Very good.
would.
I would, I'll probably send that reminder following second round to everybody in my board update, so I have some time for that.
So another new twist that I have done more recently is invite the candidates as a part of this, just for a brief period of time, maybe even to take you on a little bit of a walk or a tour, whether it's even if it's just of the central administration building or a couple of buildings or whatever the case might be. It's just another opportunity for the board members informally to interact as you're doing that, and to see how your finalist is interacting with others in that way, which is because the candidates are not going to be present for these meetings with the board members. I tell the candidates they can be here to greet board members when they arrive, and they can be present at the end to see them off. If they add this little kind of a walking tour, they can certainly do that, but otherwise they're not present for this.
I do like the walking tour idea.
Yeah,
I always love going, I
really
love
like
visiting
seeing some of their
districts.
facilities. I think that helps.
Yeah.
Districts.
Let me ask you this. If they really want to get into it and you're willing, would you be willing to spend even a little bit longer than the 4 hours if they were to add that?
Yes.
Off the day, so.
Okay. All right. Well, I like to be equitable. So what I would tell each of them then is to go up to 4.5. And if they want to include that as well, they can?
That works.
Okay. I will do that.
We always try to seek out visits to districts, so I think it's a great opportunity.
Always something to learn, right?
Yes, always, always. And we always welcome people here too, so. Okay, with that, thank you very much.
Certainly.
Thank you for your guidance.
My pleasure.
Wonderful, so I appreciate I know that all of us are really feeling confident with the system. it's just a really good program of choosing a next superintendent. It's an incredibly awesome decision, and it's a very, it's the most important decision a school board can make. And there's a lot of time and effort and dedication and very thoughtful work that the school board is conducting. So
Yes.
under your leadership and guidance, it's been phenomenal. So far, so good. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Remember, what we say is what we aspire to achieve is to make the process easy, and we hope you have a very difficult decision because you've got great candidates. So
Thank you.
hopefully that's where we are.
We'll see. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
So the third item on our agenda is the time for public comments. Do we have any public comments, Ms. Hughey? No, we don't. Okay. Number 4 on our agenda is a closed session for the purpose of negotiations. Ms. Beatty, do I have a motion?
I move to go into closed session for the purpose of negotiations.
Do I have a second? Ms. Ferguson? I'll take a roll call. Julie?
Aye.
Ken? Deborah?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Stacy is a yes. Motion passes 6-0 to go into a closed session. Just for the public, we will immediately adjourn the meeting when we come out of our closed session. So there is no further business or discussion following our closed session. And thank you for tuning in tonight.
Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to the Splash Live at Greater West Bloomfield's only local morning show, giving you exclusive access into people, businesses, and events in our community. We're bringing you the show live, daily, weekdays at 9:30 with your host, me, Maddie Muschin. Before we dive into today's show, every week we highlight someone, an educator, student, business, or organization from our Greater West Bloomfield community going above and beyond. If you would like to submit an entry for someone, you can scan the QR code on the screen, fill out the Google form with the person's name, their contact information, and reasons why you think they should be recognized for our Person of the Week here on the Splash Live. Now let's go check out what's going on in our Greater West Bloomfield community. The first event we want to look at is the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society Open House on Sunday, March 13th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Orchard Lake Museum. You can see exhibits and videos about the F4 tornado that damaged dozens of West Bloomfield homes and businesses on March 20th, 1976. During this open house, you can learn about this important historical event in our community history and enjoy the newly reopened Orchard Lake Museum with its new exhibits. This event is free, and you can contact the Historical Society or visit their website, gwbhs.org, for more information. Our next event we want to look at is the great events that they have at the Connect Center at Orchard Mall in West Bloomfield. They have a ton of great events and activities for our seniors in our community. Some of those events coming up are their Counterfeit Talk with Jennifer Day, who is a counterfeit technician with the U.S. Secret Service in the Detroit field office. At this event, you will learn about counterfeit detection. This program will also allow time for questions and answers. After the counterfeit detection program, you can join them for a box lunch at the Connect Center from 12 until 1 p.m. You have to pre-register for this event, so you can do so by going to the West Bloomfield Parks website and go to the Connect page and register through there. On March 10th, they will also be having their basic life support for healthcare workers. This is a version of blended learning course with both an online learning portion and private hands-on session with an American Heart Association instructor. After registration, a link for the online portion will be sent to the participant from the instructor. This is an online self-directed e-learning component that includes simulations, animations, and interactive activities, which can be completed before the skills session that you've chosen. All participants who pass the written exam and skills test will receive a current BLS provider card from the American Heart Association. These cards are valid for 2 years, so this is a great way that you can get those cards and get certified. Our last event we want to look at is the Sylvan Lake Game Night event. This event is perfect if you're looking for something fun to do this winter. Whether you go alone or with friends, the Sylvan Lake Game Nights are a great way to socialize safely with your neighbors and friends. Sylvan Lake Game Nights take place every Wednesday when there is not a Sylvan Lake board meeting in the community center. Game night will start at 5:30 p.m. and will go to about 9 p.m. at the Sylvan Lake Community Center. This event is open to all Sylvan Lake residents. You're welcome to bring any family and friends that you wish. You can also bring any board games or card games that you would like. They will also have some fun games there, including euchre and mahjong. If you have an event you would like us to feature here on the Splash Live, you can send us a message on our social media pages at Civic Center TV and Facebook at Civic Center TV 15. Coming up, we'll be talking with Joshua Corticus, who is the building supervisor for the West Bloomfield Water Utilities Division. But before that, there are so many things about West Bloomfield High School that the students and staff love that we couldn't even fit it into one video, but the student athletes at West Bloomfield told us a few things about what they have loved about going to a high school as great as West Bloomfield. Let's go see what they had to say. There are so many things to love about attending high school at West Bloomfield. So we asked some of their student athletes who signed their national letter of intent what their favorite thing about going to high school at West Bloomfield is.
Most definitely the community. Like, I have such great friends, such personal relationships that I've built with a multitude of people. There's so many people here to support me. So I just love that there's so many friendly people here, and I really feel a sense of community when I come to school.
My favorite thing about going to school here, basically the education. The education is really good. I came from another district, and I can really say that it's very much a difference between West Bloomfield district and the other districts. And it's filled with loving people. Everybody here is caring. Everybody here treats you like family. So, yeah.
I love everything. I love the medical mentorship program that I'm in here. I love the National Honor Society program that I'm in. And the school is just an overall great environment. The people here are nice, the teachers are great, and the school is just wonderful.
It's the community, like, it's very diverse, you know, like, so you can have friends, all different types of ethnicities, you know, just family, friends. And then everybody, when you meet them, they just really cool. Everybody clicks. No one really hates anybody. It's a really nice environment. And like when you go here, it allows you to have fun, and just be a happy student.
Just the people I've met, honestly, relationships I've built. Growing up, I was usually like a kid that's to myself, and to really know that I have a second family, like the Williams and Michaela and all of them, it really does mean a lot that I have people that are there for me. Just the fact that I have a relationship. To me and my mom, that's my best friend. To know that I have another family that cares for me just like my mom does, that means a lot. Because it means something different to hear someone else saying they believe in me.
My favorite thing is definitely being a swamp leader. The student sections at WB are great. Being able to lead them is even better. I love the student body here. It's so spirited and so welcoming, and it's definitely been a great 4 years.
You get to see a lot of new people every day, so yeah. My favorite thing about going to the high school is that it's so diverse and you meet so many people, and you just build a lot of connections, especially senior year. You just grow very close with your senior class, and it's very fun.
So take it from the student athletes. There are so many things to love about going to high school at West Bloomfield. Reporting for the Splash Live, I'm Maddie Muschamp. Thank you to all the student athletes for sharing their thoughts with us about why they love going to West Bloomfield High School. Later on, we'll be taking a look at the final Black History Month event that took place on Saturday at Orchard Mall. But before that, we'll be talking with Joshua Corticus, who is the building supervisor for West Bloomfield Water Utilities Division. All that and more after this short break.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. keep my family safe, and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
And now, back to the Splash, live.
Welcome back to the Splash Live. I'm your host, Maddie Mustian. It's now time to look at the last event for the West Bloomfield Parks Black History Month events. This past Saturday, West Bloomfield Parks and the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force held their last Black History Month event at Orchard Mall. The Black Expo highlighted Black and minority-owned businesses in our greater West Bloomfield community, and they had a special performance by the West Bloomfield Jazz Band. Let's go check out what a great event it was and what it means to our West Bloomfield community. For their final Black History Month event, the West Bloomfield Parks and the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force threw a great event that highlighted Black businesses and companies. We got to talk to the MC of the event, Thais Leverett Thornton, about what the event means to her.
Hi, I'm Thais Leverett Thornton, and I'm involved in the West Bloomfield Black Expo, primarily as a member of the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force. We are dedicated to making sure that we highlight all that's diverse and wonderful in West Bloomfield and having celebrations and opportunities to share like what we're doing today. And this is the first annual West Bloomfield Black Expo, and we're really excited about all that's taking place this morning.
So I first got involved in the Black Expo, again, as a member of the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force. And we wanted to figure out a way to really showcase the diverse businesses, entrepreneurs, and the resources that we had in the area. So we thought an expo would be a perfect way to do it. We started off thinking, all right, if we could get 7 to 10 vendors, we'll be doing great. And now we have over 30 vendors at this event today. And it's really important for this community to recognize that all of us come together in West Bloomfield to make it the wonderful place that it is to live. And it's good to understand that businesses can exist in different forms. You can have large companies, smaller companies, and owned by diverse people. And that's why we're really excited about this event and really be able to showcase and highlight what we have here.
We also talked to Ralph Tompkins, who is the DJ of the Black Expo, about how the Black Expo impacts the Black and minority-owned businesses in West Bloomfield.
Yeah, so it's super amazing to have an event like this for the first time ever inside the city of West Bloomfield. I've been a resident of West Bloomfield for so long, so it personally touches my heart to be able to have a lot of representation of our community and share the area with so many different talented, so many different individuals that work so hard. So it's nice to have a lot of collective minds in one room, and it's nice to just be a nice piece of the puzzle. It's a great event for the community. It really means so much that we have an opportunity to really showcase our talents inside the city of West Bloomfield. The diversity has really increased with our city in the last decade, so it's super nice to bring it all together in a community and just share so much talent and so much ability that we have and make it noticeable to not only the city of West Bloomfield, but the surrounding areas around it, and showcase that we have so much talent, so much ability, and be able to have it inside of Black History Month and just wraps it all together. So it's great to have a collaboration of great, intelligent minds inside of Orchard Mall, representing the city of West Bloomfield.
With the West Bloomfield Jazz Band performing and over 35 vendors showcasing their products and services, the first annual Black Expo was the perfect way to conclude Black History Month. Reporting for the Splash Live, I'm Maddie Mustian. Thank you again to West Bloomfield Parks and the West Bloomfield Diversity Task Force for creating such fun and educational events throughout the month of February to celebrate Black History Month. And also thank you to all the vendors that participated in the Black Expo, making it such a great event to wrap up Black History Month. With the upcoming election and proposed redistricting in Michigan, residents in West Bloomfield have some questions about how those changes will impact them. Previously on the Splash Live, we talked to Township Clerk for West Bloomfield, Debbie Binder, about those proposed plans and how you can make sure you're registered to vote in West Bloomfield. Let's go check out what Debbie had to say now. We are now going to be joined by Township Clerk for West Bloomfield, Debbie Binder, to talk about some of the important things that voters need to know for the upcoming voter registration deadline. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me today.
Debbie, could you first start off by telling our viewers a little bit about your role as a Township Clerk here in West Bloomfield?
Okay, as a Township Clerk, the job is actually very big, but the one part that's definitely known to everybody is that by statute, state statute, I conduct the elections for the township so that everybody gets a chance to have their voice heard. That's probably one of the biggest parts of my job. But I also set the agenda for the township board meetings, to procure the information, do the follow-up. I'm what's called the MMRMA rep. I handle the insurance for the township. I'm the representative for the township's insurance agency. I'm the FOIA coordinator, the Freedom of Information Act coordinator. Clerk's office is kind of the hub for anybody that first comes to the township. Oftentimes they'll come through the clerk's office. That if we don't have the answer ourselves, we're able to send them where they need to go to get the correct answer.
Debbie, with the proposed redistricting in Michigan, could you give us some insight and talk a little bit about, if those plans go into motion now, how that would impact West Bloomfield and the districts surrounding the area?
Okay, so the redistricting plans are supposed to be done by April 4th. We are in the process. The state has done their part of implementing the plans. The county is working on it. There are legal challenges that we don't have, where that stands yet. But all anticipation is that we will have that by April 4th. It is a statutory deadline. Any changes created by redistricting, every single voter in West Bloomfield Township will receive a new voter ID card after April 4th. So I would encourage our residents to watch their mailboxes around that time, looking for that new voter ID card. Most of the changes that we anticipate right now is we have in our redistricting, if anything, has probably simplified the township. We've become a community of interest, and it's actually become fewer districts. But most of the changes we are going to experience have to do with a statute that says no precinct may have more than 2,999 active voters. And we have a few precincts that one was above that number and two were very close to that number. So we did have to create a 26th precinct. We have 25, we now have 26 precincts. So some people will move their precinct, but we took great care to do it as, it was like a puzzle to put together. But the majority of people who will have a change of precinct will not have a change of polling location. So even if they end up finding that they got in their line of their old precinct, they're going to be told, well, you just have to go over there. You're in the same building. We do have a couple that were one precinct that was so large that they will be moving from there's a group of the population that will be moving from the library over to Temple Israel for voting. But again, the majority and the vast majority, if they did switch precinct, they will be staying in their same polling location. We'll simplify things a lot.
Debbie, with those voters for the future elections and their new voter ID cards, could you give us a couple examples of some of the different precincts and different polling locations that people in West Bloomfield will be getting on those new voter ID cards?
The polling locations won't change. So where we will have our same, 25, we had 18 polling locations, or 18 or 19, I'm forgetting. But with the polling locations will stay the same. It's just how the precincts break up in terms of where they go. Most are, the changes are simple geographics. An example, to accommodate being under that 2,999, we took two precincts that shared a building and said, okay, some of the ones that are in the larger precinct, if we move them to the smaller precinct, can we get sufficiently below that number? So that is mostly what happened, that a larger precinct was split into that smaller precinct so that we could keep those numbers below, keep their polling locations the same.
And Debbie, if someone in the township is either not registered or wants to know if they are registered, how can they go about doing that and finding that information?
All right, well, there's always a call to the clerk's office, and we welcome talking to anybody, but if, 24/7 if you want that kind of access. If you go to michigan.gov/vote, it's the Michigan Voter Information Center, and you can get a lot of information there. You're able to register to vote, you're able to get your sample ballot, you're able to check what your districts are. There's a lot of information that you can obtain going to that Michigan Voter Information Center. So also, like I said, a good place to register to vote, place to request an absentee ballot. One thing it's always good to remind people, a lot of people think if they're on what we call the permanent voter, absent voter application, application list, that they always get an absentee ballot. That means they don't automatically get an absentee ballot. They automatically get an absentee ballot application. They don't receive a ballot unless we receive that application back with a signature matched, signature. So it's important that people know, if you fill it out one year, you're not getting your ballot the next year. The only people that's different is our military and overseas voters. They are able to fill out an application out for the whole year, but everybody else has to fill it out for each election or election cycle, meaning a primary and a general. Then they'll have a choice to select both elections to request an absentee ballot. But other than that, they do have to do it each election. So it's important to keep that in mind. Being on that permanent absent voter application list does not mean you automatically get a ballot. But if you do desire to get an application every election, all you have to do is call the office and we'll add you to that list, or you can also do that at the Michigan Voter Information Center.
Yes, very important information for those voters looking to get those absentee ballots. And Debbie, with voting and those ballots and counting the ballots, you need election workers and the election workers to work at those precincts. Can you tell us a little bit of information if someone was looking to either apply for those election worker jobs, how they can do so, and what's the training behind that?
Okay, it's a great opportunity for people who need something for their college apps or their resume. It's a phenomenal opportunity to do that, to be an election worker. But even if that's not what you need, a lot of people just find it an extremely rewarding experience. It is a paid position, but per hour it's not paid very well. People do it because they really know that they're giving back to the community and they feel like they're part of something big. We take applications here. We have an application. It is available on our website, or somebody could call our office and we would email them the application. You apply to be an election inspector, what's called an election inspector. And we were very fortunate in 2020 that we were able, with great effort in recruiting and a lot of support from you guys, we were able to get secure 300 newly recruited election workers. But we don't know what our retention rate will be, so we do always need to have a new group of people coming in. It's a commitment to either work in a precinct or to work in the absent voter counting board. We do give people the choice. There's different, pluses and minuses as far as people working that they have to be concerned about. If somebody's in the AV counting board, they're not able to have their phone or communicate outside of that AV counting board. They're a sequestered board for that day. So if somebody has to take a call or answer to young children, it may not be the best placement for them. But for somebody who's looking for an opportunity to get involved and maybe be a little more sedentary, it is a little more sedentary working in the AV counting board. We're working in the precinct is not. So what I would say, if someone's thinking about it, call. You will definitely have the training. It's 1 to 2 hours, or 1 or 2 2-hour training sessions, depending on which position you're going to take. But you are well trained, and I would kind of give you some guidance on which might be the better choice. So get in touch with the clerk's office. You can also apply through the Voter Information Center. They took a great effort also to help recruit at the local level by reaching out at the state level.
Well, Debbie, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Manny.
A big thank you again to Debbie Binder for joining us on the Splash Live to talk about those voter registrations and the redistricting in Michigan. Joining us now is Joshua Corticus. He's a billing supervisor for West Bloomfield Water Utilities Division at Town Hall to talk with us about his position. Joshua, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, hello. Thank you very much.
Joshua, could you first start off by telling us a little bit about your position as a billing supervisor at Town Hall?
So yeah, I oversee 4 billing analysts, and then I handle any escalations, such as issues with high bills, customers that experience leaks, customers that need assistance above and beyond what a billing analyst can provide, and really everything in between.
Joshua, now let's dive into the Water Utilities Division. Can you tell us a little bit about what your department oversees in the township at Town Hall?
Yeah, we oversee about roughly 21,000 accounts in the township, and handle billing and maintaining records in regards to billing, consumptions from all of our water meters within the township. So we know how much water's been used. We can account for, leaks that may have been occurring, all that stuff. They're really basically anything billing related we handle.
Joshua, let's talk now about some of those things that you oversee in the township. For the West Bloomfield residents that have maybe some questions about what your department oversees, for those water rates in the West Bloomfield Township, could you tell us a little bit about how one can figure out what their water rate is, as well as giving us some details about that?
So yeah, every bill that we mail out quarterly has our water rates listed on it. Depending on the services that each property gets. Some customers are just connected to water, some are just connected to sewer, some are connected to both. And those rates are listed on the bill, right on the front of it, so that it goes down to explain how much it costs per CCF, which is what we bill in. Basically, if they ever have any questions though with rates in regards to how they're assessed and whatnot, those are typically done by the board. Board votes on rates, those pass along to us once a year. Some years we don't get rate increases, some years we do. It just depends on what percentage rate increase is approved by the township board.
And Joshua, for the billing process here in West Bloomfield Township, could you tell us a little bit about, you talked about the bills that get sent out quarterly. Could you tell us a little bit about the process of billing?
Sure, yeah, we bill quarterly, like I said, every 3 months. The bills have a due date assigned to them. That due date can vary between 1 or 2 days from year to year. It just depends. It's always going to be on the second to last business day of every month. We do offer a auto pay option where you can set your account up for automatic quarterly withdrawal. You can set it up with a credit card, debit card, checking account. However, I can caution people that if you do set it up with a credit or debit card, they do charge an additional 3% with a minimum of $2 assessed. When you're doing credit, debit card, checking accounts, there is no additional fees for those. So most people do choose to set up their automatic quarterly payments with checking accounts because of that. We also offer paperless billing, where you can set your account up so you'll just get an email with your bill. We have noticed recently postal service is not all that reliable in our area, it would seem. The delivery times are getting extended for whatever reason on their end. So a lot of people have chosen to go with paperless billing so that they just get an email with their bill instead of relying on the postal service to deliver it.
Joshua, with those bills, you also probably have a lot of residents who make their payment a little bit later and get those late fees for their water bill. Can you talk to us a little about those late fees and what a resident in West Bloomfield can do if they have one of those late fees?
So our late fees are written into our township ordinance. It's a 7% late fee based on the balance of the account that exists after the due date. So basically, if you get assessed a late penalty, you have 2 options. You can either pay it right then and there after the due date, or you can pay it with your next quarterly bill. It would just be added to the next quarterly bill as a prior balance, and you can pay it with that bill.
Joshua, as we wrap up here, is there anything else you wanted to share with our audience about the Water Utilities Division or your position as the billing supervisor there at Town Hall?
All of our auto pay, paperless, all those options are available at the township's website, www.wvtownship.org. And they just click on the payments link, and that'll get them set up for, get them toward the auto pay so they can get it set up. If they ever have any questions, they can always reach out to us. Our billing staff can assist them at 248-451-4832. That's our main billing number. And we can help them out with any questions they may have.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Joshua. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Once again, I was joined by Joshua Kortekis. He is the billing supervisor for the West Bloomfield Water Utilities Division at Town Hall. That's it for today's show. Thank you again to Joshua for joining us this morning. A special thanks to our Zoom producer, Jared Clark, for coordinating the Zoom and making sure our guests joined us. As always, a big thank you to Calvin Brown, our board operator, for making the show possible each and every morning. And thank you for joining me as we explored all of the people and events in our greater West Bloomfield community. As always, you can make sure to tune in live on Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 Monday through Friday at 9:30 to catch up on what's going on in our greater West Bloomfield community. You can also watch our show every morning on My Michigan TV. It's the new streaming service that covers all of the great people and events happening around Michigan. You can either head over to mymytv.com or download the free My Michigan TV app for your smart TV and smart device. You can also check out all of our archived stories and interviews by visiting civiccentertv.com and follow us on our YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram pages. For all of our friends in Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, Keego Harbor, and West Bloomfield, I'm Maddie Muschin. Thank you for watching The Splash Live.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate. So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
You're listening to your radio homes for the MegaCast 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the MegaCast begins now. Welcome to the MegaCast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, you can also join us on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. In Birmingham, on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, also in the Bloomfield area, also on that channel. On City Cable 15 of Southfield as well, in the city of Southfield. On Channel 10, on the Media Network of Waterford in Waterford, and of course in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Channel 10. Live to tape at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. on Orion Neighborhood Television, otherwise known as ONTV. Find us also on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, and online on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15, facebook.com/LakesFM, and on our website, CivicCenterTV.com, by clicking on our Watch Live link, or by going to My Michigan TV's website at MyMyTV.com to watch us live, find us on demand as well, and their other original programming, as well as information about how you can download and watch MyMyTV on your smart TV and on your smartphone anywhere, anytime. MyMyTV.com, or go to our website at civiccentertv.com. Click on our MegaCast link. There we have links to every single one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets that join us every day, Monday through Friday, live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as well as throughout the afternoons, evenings, and weekends for replays. And on our MegaCast page, you'll also find links that will take you to all of our shows and all of our individual interviews on demand. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Right next door to that is our coronavirus page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where right at the top of the page we have up-to-date information linked to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can keep up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19 from expert resources on the front lines of the pandemic. A good spot to start if you want to learn more information about COVID-19, about precautionary tactics that you can employ in your daily life, about vaccines, about the spread of the virus, and more. It's a good place to start with the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, who will also, in many of their publications, have links to supporting materials from other medical institutions, research institutions, and more, who are also doing research on COVID-19 from a variety of different perspectives and for a variety of different reasons, explaining, as I said, the spread of the virus, the variants, the vaccines and booster shots, precautionary tactics, and the efficacy of those tactics as well. Right at the top of our page, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Right below that, articles linked from all across the state of Michigan. We scour news outlets from all areas of the Great Lakes state to find the stories that are making headlines and are most pertinent to Michiganders each and every day. Our top story today on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus is from our good friends over at the Detroit Free Press, as Governor Whitmer has issued an executive directive to speed up Michigan's pothole repairs. Governor Whitmer, who campaigned in 2018 to promising to quote-unquote fix the damn roads, told the state roads agency on Wednesday to pull out all stops to quickly address Michigan's pothole problem. That includes paying overtime, hiring more contractors, and speeding payments to local road agencies, Governor Whitmer said in a news release after issuing an executive directive to the Michigan Department of Transportation. Quote, "We're kicking this into overdrive," said the governor, who faces re-election in November. Quote, "Dealing with car damage from driving over potholes while on your way to work or school is frustrating for every Michigander. No family should have to spend their hard-earned money on repairing a flat tire or a broken axle because of these potholes. That's why I'm directing the state transportation department to speed up pothole repairs," unclosed quote. A cost for the speed up plan is not yet immediately disclosed by the governor's office. Whitmer said the directive is intended to address a short-term pothole problem, but she will continue to address a long-term fix to the condition of the roads. She directed MDOT to continue broader road improvement projects to prevent potholes and other road surface issues from developing in the first place. The governor said that taking office, the state has replaced or rebuilt 13,000 lane miles of road and over 900 bridges. Her latest budget proposal gives $1 billion boost.
Thank you. That was easy. What did you say, Stacey? Did you see the letter?